Hello. It's been a long time. This is by far my longest break between episodes. 8 months, I believe. February, I think, is when I posted the 50th episode. I said at the end of that there was going to be a hiatus. My plan was by May, I would have everything ready by May. May came and went. I didn't have much in the way of what I wanted done. So I set my next deadline for mid-September. And now it's mid-September. Here we are. I eventually did it. So this season is going to be a little different than past seasons. In the past, I kind of took the random podcast part of the random podcast about random things tagline a little too seriously. Basically, half the time I didn't even know what the episode was going to be about until I hit record and I started talking. And I realized that wasn't really working. So maybe should have a little more planning. So part of the reason that my original plan for May didn't work out because I wanted to like completely overhaul everything, and I was gonna go full-fledged like professional podcast. I wanted every little single tiny detail planned out, and then one day I had this kind of like this. I started to have kind of like a panic attack about it because nothing was coming together, and I had to thank my friend Pixie, who a lot of people would know. Especially in my podcasting circle, she's really famous. We call her the Fairy Pod Mother. She suggested I kind of rein it in a little. Uh, it doesn't have to be full, like this big, massive scale. So I basically scrapped my original plan, like in June, and started over. So this season is planned out, just not to the degree that I originally had intended. I not only do I have the episodes planned out, most of them have already been recorded. Yeah, that is another major change. I pre-recorded a lot of things. And in fact, I've even done episodes with other podcasters. This is my first season to have other podcasters on the show, not just my friends. However, my one thing though is that the podcasters I have on have to be my friend. So, though, admittedly, that wasn't something I did intentionally. It was just happened that way. I don't want to spoil anything, but I will say that the podcasters that I have as guests are people that I'm friends with. And yes, we met because of podcasting. I didn't just happen to have friends who became podcasters. We are friends because of the podcasts that we run. And I did an episode at one point about like the podcasting community. I think it was my favorite podcasters episode. And yeah, the podcasting community is like so supportive. Like I think if anybody listening to this has listened to this show from the beginning, you'd know that there was a time when I had kind of a mental breakdown on Twitter, and I didn't think anything of it. I had to kind of like freak out. I had like tweeted out a bunch of stuff. I was like freaking out, and I just kind of threw it out in the world, not thinking anything of it. And I woke up the next morning, and that was even to this day, I think that was my most interacted with tweet, if that's the correct phrasing. I had so many people come to that tweet and like have so much like in words of encouragement and stuff and like messaging me, and it's like that's the podcasting community. I've experienced that even more a lot because I haven't been quiet about, I haven't been secretive about my plans, what I've been trying to do, and I've had people message me trying to help me out. And yeah, when I finally finally decided that well, no, I have a date for the first episode when season 4 is going to launch. I messaged four of my favorite people that have been helping me. One of them literally responded all caps, "Finally!" Yeah, but I decided to start the season with a mini-sode kind of explaining all of this. Mostly because the original episode I was going to do for the first episode, a friend and I were going to do, one of my friends, she's also a podcaster, she and I were going to do an episode together, and I wanted her episode to be the first episode of the season because she's one of my best friends. And she's also a podcaster, so it kind of ticked both buzz boxes. She's one of my best friends, and she's a podcaster. So I was like, hey, she's. But our schedules never lined up. So, uh, the first episode is Marvel, the MCU Phase 3. And at the time I recorded that, I thought it was going to be the second episode. So at the beginning of that episode, I don't even acknowledge the fact that it's been months since I recorded because I thought it was gonna follow one other episode. I didn't want to like rehash things I've already talked, so I just kind of started the episode like it was just another episode. But she and I discussed it and decided to um, push that episode back. We're still going to do it. It's just going to be later on. And so now episode 2 is episode 1, and all the other episodes moved up one. So I originally was going to just explain all this in the introduction of her episode, but then since that's not going to happen, I was like, I should just do a mini-sode, do something I've never done before, and start a season with a mini-sode. And here I am doing a mini-sode to start the season. Also, there's another major change. Well, not a major change. It's, the way I start each episode, I kind of changed it before. I was like, "Hello, welcome back to the Digressor," da 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 da, whatever. But I realized because I would go into these podcasting spaces on Twitter, and like even the people that have been listening to my show, they refer to me as the Digressor, and I'm like, I have a name. Like even my friends on there, like they're just now starting to realize my name, and like when I enter the space, like Trevor's here, and so it's like, yeah, like I should probably change the way I start each episode because I noticed some of the other podcasts I listen to, they announce themselves by name along with the show. So like I also in person something I always say is I say good morning no matter what time of day it is. It could be like in the evening. I'll be like, "Good morning." So just kind of as a joke, just to be weird. And so I decided instead of just saying hello, I'm gonna start each episode with "Good morning. Welcome back to the Digressor. This is Trevor, and today we're gonna talk about bada bada bada." So just to kind of change things up and also put my name there so people know who I am, that I have a name. Yeah, I realize I don't think I've ever mentioned my name before now on the show. So, yeah, that kind of makes sense why people would just refer to me as the digressor. Yeah. Anyway, I will end this minisode here. I will still end each episode the same way as I have been. Have a good. Actually, before I go, You might notice a change in quality. I didn't realize that I had the echo slider on my microphone turned on a little bit. Why does my microphone even have that slider? And it probably sounds worse now because I'm using my laptop microphone, because now for some reason my laptop doesn't even want to recognize that my microphone is a thing. So yeah, I'm stuck using this for right now to add on this little thing. I forgot to mention that now I have a second podcast. I like podcasting, and I didn't want to not have one. So I had a side podcast while I was working on this podcast, and basically it was something I had been thinking about doing for a while. I just never got around to it until I did it. Basically, it's a movie review podcast called Casablanca. It is actually based on a blog I had 10 years ago. Thus the name. That's why there's the word blog in there. I had some people ask me, why is it called Casablanca and it's a podcast? I was like, well, I was too tired to think of a new name, and that one already existed, so I just reused that one. Well, basically, it's hard enough having one podcast, but now running two. So I found a way to make both podcasts work together. Basically, both shows are now going to be bi-weekly. I will be posting episodes every other Wednesday, alternating between the two. One week I'll post the Digressor, the next week I'll post Casablanca, and the next week Digressor, and so on. What helps is that I've already recorded the episodes for the Digressor, so really all I have to do is upload them. With Casablanca, they're basically going back to basics. I have literally no editing on it. I don't have any music. I don't have like a fancy intro or anything. I do some minor editing, like if I sneeze or something. There's been a few times where I went on tangents. I try to keep them under half an hour. So yeah, that's a difference. So yeah, what I do with those is I'll watch a movie and then I'll review it. But I should probably not call it a movie review, because I don't really review the movies. It's more like I discuss them. And I didn't think there was much of a difference, but I had a couple of friends that were like, "You just stop calling yourself a movie reviewer. You're not actually reviewing the movies. You're just talking about them." I was like, "That's the same thing." And they're like, "No, it's not. It's totally not the same thing." So I have a movie podcast. I'll just say that. I have a movie podcast called Casablanca. So there's that. I forgot. I don't know why. When I was editing that minisode, I was like listening to it and like kind of editing it a little bit. First thing I noticed was the echo, and when I got to the end, I realized, oh, I forgot to mention my second podcast. You know, that thing. Anyway, once again, have a good